Hey, welcome back to the Depleted Key podcast, where we talk about all things World of Warcraft. Today is March 29th, 2021. I'm Tarithal, and joining with me is Spoogy.
Hey man, how's it going?
Hey man, we're doing okay. We just got off the back of a pretty fun key, just kind of finishing up our chores for the week.
It's the most keys I've done in quite a long time, to be honest with you. Probably since that last big push week. So, this week was Tyrannical, Inspiring, Necrotic, Prideful. And, gotta say, not a big fan of Inspiring. Necrotic did not seem that big of a deal with our particular group comp with trees and everything. But
yeah, I did a key earlier in the week. We did a Necrotic Wake, like, first thing in the week, and that was kind of painful. And I was kind of pulling like an idiot, not really like respecting the necrotic, and I definitely felt it in there. But yeah, tonight I didn't even notice it. In between having two trees, we had an elemental, and I had my cardboard assassins. Like, I don't know.
Well, it also kind of flips up a little bit of the the dynamic of which dungeons you want to do on a necrotic week. Something we've discussed before is like Sanguine Depths never really our favorite, and then Necrotic Wake is usually one of your easier dungeons. But with the fact of, you have so many melee swings coming in on Necrotic Wake, you're just stacking up the necrotic so much.
Yeah, and Sanguine Depths has all the casters, right? So, yeah, that makes
right.
sense.
So you're not really getting that affix as bad. So,
yeah,
I know we ran with one of my groups this week, and they were all, voting down the Sanguine and said, let's do the Necrotic Wake, and you were trying to warn them. It's kind of funny.
Yeah. Well, we had already done one earlier in the week, right? And I kind of like brainstormed through that, and we had done a Sanguine, right? And I'm like, I think the Sanguine's better this week, guys. And I'm like, no, let's get the Necrotic. I'm like, all right.
How's the Inspiring in Sanguine? Was it in any painful spots?
That's fine. I mean, you don't typically see C ads in there anyways, right?
Right.
There's some stuff that, like after the first boss, for example, there's a group of two casters that duck around the corner, but then there's a bunch of casters, if you walk into the room, there's a bunch of casters, and typically what I do is I throw my my glaive at them and group them all up, right? But all of those cast a pretty nasty curse, and one of those is inspired. So that was kind of probably like the deadly pull of the instance, but it's kind of whatever, right? That's right next to where you respawn after you kill the first boss, and it's just not a big deal at all.
Well, next week is back to being fortified, and it's Sanguine Quaking, which Sanguine can be bad if not handled correctly, but I don't think that's going to be a bad week overall.
No, actually, I think it's an S tier week. I think out of all the weeks that we've had, that's probably my number 1 or 2 week. Actually, I don't mind Sanguine at all. And that could just be because I'm used to playing like a Windwalker monk where I just put the ROP down before something dies, right?
Right,
just like
knock them away.
Yeah, it's like a non-issue, right? And then Quaking is also kind of, one of those things that as long as you're somewhat paying attention, it's not a big deal.
I had a week R for that, and it was semi-accurate. It kind of did a countdown of, Quaking should be coming out now, so it was kind of like a pay attention moment. So.
Yeah, I was going to mention that. There's a pretty good week aura that a lot of people use. I think you can actually find it if you look under like the Wago page for Yummy TV Growl. He's got a really good one that a lot of people use, that it plays like a clown sound at you if you're casting during Quaking, which is really useful. Nice. And it says stop casting, in the middle of your screen. But on top of that, it also tries to predict when the Quaking will actually appear. And so it's like, I don't know the exact math, but it's like every 10 or 12 seconds or something like that, after Quaking has just happened, that the very first chance of Quaking can happen again. And if it doesn't do it that time, then it's like 5 seconds after that, it's like almost guaranteed. There's like four different times essentially that it could happen, but yeah, it's useful for casters. I don't really play any casters, so it's not terribly applicable to me. But
well, the one I'm using is Now's, which I
okay.
don't think his was built for casters, so it tries to predict when the Quaking is going to happen,
right?
And then it'll just put Quaking on your screen after that.
Okay,
but it doesn't say, hey, stop casting. But I have to try out the other one, Growls.
What do you think of that run tonight? So right before we did the podcast, we were sitting in a group on WoW. We were deciding if we wanted to do another key or not, and we had just done a key with some guys in my guild, and we were gonna give them a little bit of
we timed it. We timed it. It was a.
We're gonna 15, talk some trash.
Yeah, it was a 15 Halls of Atonement.
Yeah.
I was originally going to heal it, and because your buddy, he has a newer shaman. I think he was like in the 190 something.
Yeah, we pulled my buddy Fire. We pulled him into a 15 key this week on his new shaman. I thought he did fine.
He did great. But originally he was going to DPS. I was going to heal, and then it got flip flopped again. And he ended up healing. He didn't have a legendary for healing. He did have one for DPS.
Okay.
But I ended up as Boomkin, which I feel like my IQ whenever I go DPS just kind of goes down a good 10, 15 points or something.
Well, you're not used to the timings either, right? When to pop Convoke throughout the dungeon?
No, I don't pay it. Because like when I'm doing my Convoke as a healer, it's a combination of spiky damage.
Mm-hmm.
And I usually kind of know where those are now. Along with where can I fit in maybe a Heart of the Wild if I don't need, Mass Root or something that week.
Mm-hmm.
And get some extra damage on a boss. And so it's all pretty kind of straightforward and up to me. I mean, it doesn't really matter to group wide. Right. But the DPS, it's I don't know. I think my biggest problem as a DPS right now is I hold on to my Convoke probably too much because I feel like, we're like 2 packs away from the boss, and then I could have totally have Convoked on, say that you go into Halls of Atonement, right shard you go get, and you go get the left shard. I could have Convoked in that left shard. Is that what they call it? The big guy?
Helcus. Maybe the Shard of Helcus. Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah, the Shard of Helcus. I could have Convoked on him. I didn't. And I think the other Druid did. And I just saved it for the boss. But we ended up pulling, some extra packs anyways. And I would have totally been fine. But that's my biggest thing I've got to learn. And I don't mind getting some runs in this DPS because I kind of like it. Kind of keeps the game a little fresh for me too.
Yeah, sure. Like absolutely.
I'm restarting. I'm relearning. And I kind of had a very professional druid in there with me. Your buddy there, and he was
4-shift. Yeah, he's really good, and his overall damage on dungeons is always like really high. Like he's probably close to 7K. Which I mean, if you look at some of like the groups that push 24s or whatever, that's not real high, but at the same time, I mean, like they're probably pulling a lot bigger packs at the same time, right? And which kind of enables them to do more overall damage, right? So for the pull size that we do, he's always doing a ton of damage, just a ton of damage.
Yeah, he was on top of it, and your warrior was cranking some damage too.
He's actually our tank. He's actually our raid tank, and that's why we're kind of memeing on him. Like every time he plays Fury, we're like, "Oh no, what's gonna happen?"
I mean, from an outsider point of view, I thought he was cranking.
Oh yeah, he's good. Yeah, he's real good.
I was definitely the weak link on the DPS squad there, but I don't think I did bad. My damage I think was pretty good on every boss, and those big packs. I think I was up there. I don't think I got completely skunked on anything.
I think I caught you maybe top on the second boss. The second time through.
Yeah, second. So there's a story there. Second boss, you run up past the gargoyles up the stairs. We did a skip. I think everybody had the invis pot. You popped a invis pot when we went through, but somebody got caught. He came back again. He got through, and then we killed an extra gargoyle that you pulled up. And as I was dying, the other druid went and knocked on the door. Which, the boss kicks in and says, "What's up?" And the pride spawned, and all the ads came out with the boss and everything. We tried to keep it alive, but then we wiped, and then we pulled it again. And I think I might have topped that one, but he probably had blown all his cooldown somewhere else.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, we said we were gonna meme on him before the podcast started, but yeah, really that pull's fine. Like. We ended up killing the last pride with the last boss anyways, right? That's just kind of how we pull the dungeons. But I'll tell you what, I'll be glad for next week. Like I'm sick of these weird weeks where there's like inspiring or necrotic or just like something weird, because I get a lot of enjoyment out of like pulling packs on top of bosses. And when you have like necrotic and inspiring, like all the extra stuff, like you just can't really do like those normal fun pulls.
And that goes back to the very end of BFA, because you had those little mini bosses. And I love doing that. It really changed up the routes where you could go different ways. But B, anything you left and you didn't touch, any of those pillars, Obelisk, that's what they called them.
Yeah.
They would come out on the final boss of the dungeon.
Mm-hmm.
And so it just added a whole new, extra layer of difficulty and a challenge, which we would do. I think we usually would do, like, say, the spider boss, but, you watch some of those old streams, those guys are putting multiple bosses on top of the final boss and just burning it all down. And it's fun, when you can, pull things on the boss and just go ham.
Yeah.
But
that's one of my favorite things to do right now. Necrotic Wake is one of my favorite dungeons, just because of how spicy the pulls can get. So basically the first area right now, I'm doing it in 2 pulls. I'm pulling most of everything up to 20% pride in 1 pull at the very beginning. And then we hit the golem with the Kyrian steward, right? And we get the Kyrian buff. So I pull the boss, and then I end up basically kiting the boss onto various packs of mobs, and we essentially do like most of our 25-30% with the boss itself with the Kyrian buff. And really, you could even do the pride with that too. And it's just a lot of fun, trying to maximize your time in that dungeon. And this week was just like, screw you, necrotic, you can't heal anything. Inspiring, oh, you can't kick the drains. It's just, I don't know. Just a buzz.
The very first pack in Necrotic Wake is those little gas bag guys.
Yeah.
They will stack up necrotic so fast.
Mm-hmm,
it's not even funny. Just that one pack, and that really kind of kills the whole, mass pools, have fun AoE thing.
Yeah.
So.
But next week, I think everyone's going to be flying through the dungeons, and I think what's going to help a lot with that is there's a slew of tank changes coming out come tomorrow at reset. And so pretty much every tank is getting 10% physical damage mitigation, except for Vengeance, which is only getting 5%.
And how do you feel about that as a demon hunter? You think that was fair?
I think that's fine. So the demon hunter is also getting the magic resist fix, right?
Wasn't that a tooltip fix?
No. So essentially, what was happening was both, like, there's a passive on demon hunters that gives you more magic resist than most tanks have, but there's a version of it that's havoc and vengeance, and so they're 2 separate passives. And apparently, while you were in vengeance, you were getting the benefit of both of them at once. And so they're essentially just fixing that, which overall is, I don't know the exact number, but it's roughly like a 10% magic resist nerf. But then what we were doing is everyone was taking the Kyrian Pelagos tree. And at the very bottom, there was a talent that would supposedly give you 3% magic resist. And I guess that was broken, and it was actually giving you negative 3% magic resist, and they resolved that. So that's a 6% magic resist swing, right? And so we got nerfed 10% magic resist, but we're getting 6% of that back. And so, I don't know. I think in between getting 5% physical damage reduction increase, and then on top of that only losing, 4 to 8% magic resist, I don't think it's a big deal. I think it's actually a net gain overall. Because the only place you worry about that is like what? Sanguine Depths?
I was under the I got confused. There was one where you're getting rank 1, 2, and 3. Was that right? For the spell, so you're getting extra damage reduction?
Well, that's kind of what we thought it was, right? So demon hunters have the passive, and everyone thought, because at max level, I think you have a rank 3 demonic wards, is what it's called.
Right.
And so they thought you were getting the benefit of rank 1, 2, and 3 all at the same time. But
okay, so that was my confusion. That's not the case.
Well, it's essentially the same thing, right? Getting the benefit of both Havoc and Vengeance at the same time versus getting the benefit of 1, 2, and 3 at the same time. I mean, either way you look at it, you're getting more magic resist than, was intended on that ability, so.
Well, it looks like everybody got 10%. The Druid, which I gotta say, I healed a bear a lot this week when I was healing.
Mm-hmm.
And, I mean, it almost felt like necrotic was not even a thing. Theater of Pain, not really a great one for necrotic as well, because so much melee swings. And I think I only lost her one time, to where I actually said, hey, you actually need to drop your stacks and back off. The rest of the time, it was just a lot of face taking.
I think overall, everyone is just going to be ridiculously tanky now. I think that's what it comes down to.
I mean,
yeah, it makes it more fun, I guess, for most people, right? I don't actually mind kiting, but and that's not just from the perspective of a demon hunter. If you're listening to that and going, "Oh, well, yeah, you're a demon hunter, of course you like tanking or like kiting," but I've been playing a lot of Druid. I've been playing a lot of Paladin. I've been playing on different tanks. I did a lot of that this week. Actually, in some decently high keys too. I think I did a 12 on the Paladin and 180 eye level gear, and I probably did. It went fine actually. It was smooth as butter. It was fine this week.
You're still doing the Venthyr?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we dragged lava through that too, or fire. We dragged him through that as well. I think we did a 12 sanguine depths on my Paladin and his shaman, which was less gear than it was tonight. So, I mean, it really wasn't bad. The druid's getting super tanky. I think we did probably around a 10 key on that.
Have you made the legendary for it yet?
Nope. I'm waiting till next week or until tomorrow, I guess. The one I want, I think, comes from Torghast, and I know I could have done like Twisting Corridors, but I just didn't feel like advancing my my storyline that far. So,
you gonna make the Thrash one, or?
Yeah, I think that's what I've settled on. I kind of like to meme on it, right? I like to do the Moonkin Weave. And I'm trying to like maximize the damage that you get from doing that. And so it's possible the Thrash one doesn't give you like the most damage output, right? But just kind of looking at other tanks use it, it seems like it's almost like mandatory. Like it's in between that and the Barkskin one that gives you some damage reduction, and it gives you like the frenzy regen automatically once your Barkskin starts and stops, which is pretty strong, like on a minute cooldown. But I think the Thrash one makes the most sense, especially on a week like Necrotic, right, where you just get like infinite shields for like 10 seconds or something like that. Yeah, that's super strong. So,
well, how was your week with the raid?
The raid was pretty good. I'm trying to think what we were at last week. I think we had gotten Artificer down to 0% without actually killing it.
Yeah, you had like 8k on the boss or something.
Yeah, that's right. We had 8.5k health on the boss left, and we died to it at 10:59, which we stopped raiding at 11. So we went into it this week. We decided to just do a full re-clear. Night one, we went into Shriekwing first, no problem. And immediately we went to Artificer, and so we just skipped everything else and went immediately to Artificer. And I think we got that down within the hour, which is great. And then we did our second clear ever on Sun King in the same night. And then we ended the night by doing Huntsman. So just those 4 bosses, but Artificer was Prog. Sun King was re-clearing it to ensure it wasn't just a fluke, right? And then
right.
Come Thursday, our co-raid lead, he was sick, and so I ended up raid leading solely that night. And we ended up getting Lady down again, obviously with hunger as well. And so we ended up getting all 6 of those down and probably put like an hour into council, which is kind of challenging to do as a disc priest, like to call everything out and track everything. But some of my weak auras weren't working properly, and I think I've got that cleaned up for this week, so not too bad.
How far did you progress into the fight?
We just got Frida down, and it wasn't clean, so the trick with that, I don't know if you've seen that version of the fight, but you get a debuff. 5 people get targeted with this debuff, and the only way to clear it is to jump 3 times. And every time you jump, it pulses AoE damage to the raid. And so in between the 5 characters that have 3 stacks each, it's a total of 75k damage per player. And so it's a ton of damage if you don't mitigate it, right? So the challenge is to stack damage mitigation cooldowns, and then to know when to actually have people jump. And so there's some really bad overlaps, right? So you have like the dance, right, where you have to essentially hug your partner and then stay with them, and most people just run a circle around the boss with your partner. But you can't really have those people jump during that, and you have a limited amount of time where you have to make everyone jump, to clear all their stacks. And so it's kind of this awkward decision you have to make in between having people jump before that ability, jump after that ability, and trying to time all your healing cooldowns during it it's not that hard, but at the same time, we're just not used to it yet. So,
are you doing the little half circle with your dance partners?
Yep. Yep. I'm sure you've seen that. So yeah, that's what we're attempting to do. And my guild has never done it that way, right? Like you could do that in heroic, and there's no issue with that, but our guild has never done it that way. And so it's a little bit of a challenge. I think a couple people were probably failing on it more than others. I died to it a couple times, trying to ramp my spirit shell and just not seeing it. So that's on me as well. But Yeah, it's not terribly bad. I think the strategy is fairly easy, and I think I've kind of already got an idea of who should be doing every little thing in it, and so I don't think it's going to be a big deal. But at the same time, at the end of raid week, we had a couple people leave the guild for various reasons, like no bad reasons, like no one was like mad at the raid or anything like that, but it's a long tier, right? Castle Nathir is not real exciting. We had 2 people go just to play with some friends. We had one person who was essentially like a backup for us. He decided to leave, but he wasn't really raiding with us full time anyways. So a little bit of recovery to do next week, but I don't think it's going to be a big deal.
Well, that's good. Our raid, we were progressing on hunger,
Mm-hmm.
and I gotta say, you gotta stop cursing me because you've cursed me twice. Once when you said, oh, you're gonna get frustrated on Shriekwing because you're not gonna be dying when you think you should be dying.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that first night, in the raid, I was getting very frustrated during the entire transition, the entire hard part of that fight. During that downtime, and you can't even damage the boss. And then you said, "Hunger is a guild killer."
Yes, I did.
And boy, were you right.
Yeah.
So we were progressing on hunger this week. Tuesday we went in and we're entirely pucking. We're probably about 14 now.
Mm-hmm.
We've been getting more bodies in, and it had been building up. Where we had maybe 10 earlier. So we're still pugging a little bit. A lot of the pugs were coming back each week. So we didn't have to spend as much time as we did the week before.
That's good.
But we got Shriekwing down. I think that is all we got on the first night. And then Friday, we got Huntsman. And then we went in to progress on Hunger. And you gave me all your weak ores and things, and our raid leader had never seen it, so he was kind of progressing on the raid leading side of it as well, and working out the strats. And we had a healer make a suggestion for a tank position, and the tank did not want to even begin to acknowledge that this was something that he could do or that it was a good idea or something like that. So it ended up being some emotions that kind of bowled up over, then building up over the tier, and pretty much the guild fell apart. We were talking about a merger with another guild, and I think some of the guys are going to go over there and do that. I can't. They raid till like 12:30. In the morning, which I've got to work, so I can't do that. Some of the guys, I think, we're just going to take a break from WoW until 9.1, and I was actually, I think, a couple of us were just going to come over and join your guild,
right?
And just kind of do whatever. And it was. You were right. It was definitely a guild killer because we did not even manage like 10 pulls.
Yeah. The thing about that fight is you got to have basically just one person controlling, the aspects of the fight. They got to really be raid leading pretty hard, right? If you're doing like the box strategy, right, where you have the 4 marks and you have to like tell people when to move in and out, like assuming that your raiders don't already quite understand the fight, right? You got to kind of orchestrate when people walk in and out and heal people up. Once you've killed it a couple times, you don't really need anyone calling that out, right? You just kind of know when to do that. But yeah, trying to get a raid to do that correctly and then having too many voices going, right, it's really difficult.
See, our pulls were getting much and much more clean, and our calls were getting much and more clean as we went. We were doing the default I guess strategy with the 4 markers, tank the boss right in the middle.
Yeah.
And you kind of have, the groups dance in and out to top off whoever's got the, is it miasma? Is that what it is in that fight?
Yep.
And so there's a lot of miscommunications. People just having to learn, like, such as, you can have more than one person in a group get a miasma, and then there's nobody there to heal them up. So, people were not basically crossing over when they needed to heal other groups and things based on that strat.
Mm-hmm.
But we were getting better. It was getting cleaned up a little bit. But yeah, it's just we had some personality clashes that just were not going to fit long term, and that just ended up being the moment where they ended up exploding. No, it was not like earlier a couple weeks ago when we had somebody yell and go crazy in Discord. It was kind of anticlimactic. Just quit the group, quit everything, and was gone. But it is what it is.
It is. I've been thinking about it a lot recently. Just I'm not getting burned out whatsoever. Honestly, I'm really not. But I'm just thinking they're talking about 9.1 coming out in like August now, which from like a guild management perspective, right? Trying to be like one of the officers of the guild, like I gotta kind of think about that, right? Because for sure there's gonna be people that are gonna get burned out, right? And so that's kind of something that we're actually talking to our guild about tomorrow. Since we had these 3 people leave, it's kind of a good time for us just to, sit down, think about, okay, who wants to raid in our guild that isn't currently raiding. We have a couple trials that are interested in raiding, and we actually run two different raids in our guild. We have a group that runs Tuesday, Thursday that focuses on like Mythic progression, but then we have another group primarily of like former Mythic raiders that have kind of gotten older and they have other responsibilities, right? They have kids, they have jobs, etc. And so recently they finished up their AOTC run, right? Because that was kind of their focus, and some of those people are interested in Mythic progression, and so we're kind of just taking an audit, and see, kind of what people are feeling about the raid tier so far, and kind of who from the AOTC group, is hungry for Mythic bosses, and we're just trying to, kind of satisfy everyone at once, right? While continuing to progress, our normal group. But
9.1 being in August is a huge stretch.
Yeah.
Because that's on the other side of summer.
Yeah.
And so that's tough. How do you keep people engaged long enough to either last that long, or you just got to hope that people come back when it actually does hit, and they're not just completely burned out and not wanting to come back to the game.
Yeah. In my mind, I think it would be cool. This is nothing official or anything like that. Like, I haven't talked to anyone in the guild about this, but I think it'd be cool if we could somehow get 2 Mythic runs going in our guild. Like, we have enough people. It's just a matter of having the numbers on the correct nights, right? And I think that'd be super cool, because I know a lot of people are hungry for more rating, right, than just the 2 nights a week. And so it would be cool. I have 3 characters that are 220 plus, right? So I think it'd be cool to do like a Wednesday night, kind of off character raid, as long as people are actually performing on the characters, right? I think that'd be crazy cool and would add a lot to the week.
Yeah. I can tell you right now, you've got 2 Resto Druids coming that can absolutely crank.
Yeah.
Drexley, she's got much more haste than me right now, and I have to do everything to catch her once she takes off.
Mm-hmm.
And I taught her the art of the snipe, but I taught her too well. She's now sniping me.
Yeah, she does some pretty good healing. Like,
yeah, well, a mechanic will happen, and I go to hit my trank, but then I'll look over, taking off because she already hit snipe me on it. But, but yeah, it's gonna be kind of interesting going forward, because I'm not quite sure what my rating future is at the moment. I'm not. I know a lot of my guys were talking about it, and they want to get back together for like 9.1 or something. But okay. I think a lot of them are burned out right now. I think, half the core wants to kind of go play other games, but they want to play together. They invited me, to play things. I've been playing some Overwatch with them and whatnot.
Yeah.
And then, there's that one group that wants to go to that other guild and do that as well. But they have also messaged me and said that, 9.1, they would like to continue as well. But yeah, you never know. That's so far off, at this point.
It's a video game too, right? Like
have fun, right?
Yeah, the first 2 people that, they were part of our core Mythic team, and they decided to leave to go and play with friends, and they were super nice about it. They were really enjoyable to play with, and they left really respectfully. They're like, they left after we had finished raiding for the week, right? And he kind of reached out and he's like, we really enjoy playing with you guys. It's nothing against you, right? We're gonna go play with some of our friends, for the rest of the tier because they've been, kind of harassing us to play with them all tier. Just letting you know. And by the way, we threw in 40K into the guild bank just to cover our consumables. Just so you know.
Hush money. That is hush money.
Yeah, maybe. Well, everyone could see it, but I mean, they were super cool about it. But I totally get that, right? I mean, I totally get that.
Yeah.
I mean, if you have a bunch of friends that are playing in a guild together, I mean, sure. I mean, you and I talk about that, openly on the podcast. How we like to raid with each other. That'd be awesome. But
yeah.
I totally get that, and I respect it. It's just a video game, but
yeah, ultimately, if you're not having fun at the end of the day, take a break, take a step back. But if you are having fun, that's what it's all about right there. And I'm still having fun on the game. Like tonight, you asked me to, do I want to do a key? And I kind of sat there for a second. I'm like, do I want to do a key? And then I got in there. We ended up just having a blast and memeing the whole time and pulling prides on the bosses and just.
I love doing keys with those guys. It's kind of funny too because we're sitting in Discord and I think I was streaming, and we have some people that there's probably in my guild there's probably 10 of us that really like run keys together, right? Mm-hmm. But we had 5 of us in there, and plus there were probably another 4 people watching the stream, kind of like backseat harassing the healer and.
Yeah, I didn't know voices, and it took me a while to realize that those guys, those voices I was hearing talking smack, were not even in the run.
No, yeah, exactly. Yeah, we're all friends, right? So they're telling us to like do things, and they're harassing our healer to drop healing cooldowns, here, and just giving him a hard time. And yeah, man, it's a blast. We were running alts on those with those people all week, running fairly high keys for our eye level, on these rat alts and. No, it's just fun, man. I'm really enjoying the game right now.
I'm liking the vocabulary that's coming out with keys. You got scuffing.
Yeah.
You've got rat keys. It's all this new verbiage.
It's kind of funny because I've been calling them rat runs, and a lot of people call like badly geared characters rat alts, right? So I've been calling it rat runs. Yeah. But rat runs is actually like a Diablo term for Ratmo runs, which is like one of the most efficient ways of, gaining Paragon levels. And so I think it's kind of a funny contradiction, right? You have rat runs in Diablo, which is like super efficient, getting the most bang for your time, right? And then rat runs in WoW is like these scuffed runs of characters that should not be doing anything that they're attempting to do, right? Mm-hmm. So it's kind of a funny contrast, and I'm probably making up half this vocabulary as I'm going, but I don't know. I think people get it.
We did one with you, with some of the Quebecois.
Mm-hmm.
Went with us, some of the French Canadians.
Mm-hmm.
What was that? Was that the other side we did, or did we do that with your group?
We did a couple. We did a Sanguine, I think, and we did a Necrotic Wake.
No, the mist. You healed the mist, and you were trying to do the little levitate.
Oh yeah.
To pull over the wall maneuver there.
Mm-hmm.
After the first boss, a Boomkin can disengage, catch a priest levitate at the right moment, and flow down and cast over the wall and pull some the next pack to the tank, which I completely messed up and did not do correctly. But they were down there trying, pulling, doing everything right, and here you and I are up at the top, just completely
just ignoring them,
memeing around. Just a healer up there, no big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember did we time? I don't know if we timed that one, but
yeah, we timed it. Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we timed the miss. I think we timed almost everything except for the Necrotic Wake the first time through. We timed it the second time through.
Oh yeah, you are right. Yeah,
I think we timed it the second time through.
Yeah, it was a run that you were not in that I messed up, which was actually the other side.
Mm-hmm.
That was full French Canadians, and I have no idea what's going on when they are speaking completely French. And 3 of them were at one house, so they were like on like one microphone together, going to a speaker, and so it was kind of a weird setup. So they're all speaking French because they're all in the same room together, and I have no idea. And the one guy that was not there was like making calls, but he was also memeing. He's the guy you met, the hunter with the crazy high IO.
Yeah, Lamali.
Yeah, he was making telling them to pull all sorts of crazy stuff and just stuff we could not burn down fast enough. And I think we barely missed that key.
I don't really know how you overpull in that dungeon, other than I guess towards the end, if you pull two of the guys that heal, right? I forget what they're called right now, but their name starts with an S. The slugs that start with an S, and they have like the shield and the healing and all that kind of stuff. I guess if you pull two of those packs together and you don't kick,
I'm talking about the other side, not Mist.
Oh, the other side. Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Yeah.
You
know the enraged guy that you have to usually hit with that.
Yeah.
Plus the two like bone saw warrior dudes that you have to soothe.
Yeah.
Plus all the little tiny stuff that would just stack up necrotic. Yeah, all that stuff. Just imagine it in one pull together. Yeah, it was not good. And two of them had lower item levels. So, and I believe those two are actually going to be coming over with us as well. They don't really raid this tier, but those are the two I was talking about. I think you might have been watching some of that because I know I streamed one run to you.
Yeah, well, we ran a couple with them together, and so yeah, I do know which. I know the other side you're talking about. I think you just barely mistimed that. Come to think of it, I think you were just barely off.
Yeah, and we were memeing pretty hard, or at least they were memeing. I was trying to guess what was going on because it's really funny. You'll hear nothing but French, but all video game terms, it's in English, right? So you hear what is basically gibberish, arc lightning, gibberish.
Okay, I heard Lamali swear a lot in English and then go back to speaking French.
Yeah.
Kind of cracking me up.
The rogue Zephy made me laugh because I hear nothing but French, and all of a sudden it was like, oh shit. And so, you catch those. It's like, oh, I understand that. Yes.
Yeah, that was correct. You were trying to explain like the ledge mechanic to them, and they were just like not getting it initially. I think they were like kind of getting it, but
right. I've clarified that, and what it was is they understood my English. I have a Southern accent, and so some of my words can be hard sometimes if I talk too fast. But they understood my English completely. The problem was they did not understand that you just could not, you could not jump down.
Right.
So they said up top, they're like are you talking about bouncing up with the, the little spring?
Yeah. Using the portal. Okay, I got you.
Yeah, it was not a English thing. It's just they just did not understand the entire oh wow, you don't have to jump down into the boss area. And yeah, so we ended up actually doing that completely perfect when we got to that, which is usually one of the hardest bosses. But they pulled it off. The warlock stayed beside me. I actually did get targeted with the arc lightning.
It jumped down, right?
I passed off to him.
Yeah, it jumped
No. He stayed up there with me.
Oh, okay.
I did not test it. It's not that I didn't trust you. It's just I didn't think about it at the time.
I don't think you have to. I think if you have one person up on the ledge and they're the first person targeted, I'm 90% sure it'll still jump to the closest target regardless of range. I don't think that matters.
I can test it sometime, but
yeah, test it and let me know how it goes.
I honestly,
test it in your run.
I honestly forgot about it as a mechanic for a second, and then I looked down and I saw I had it, and about the time I noticed I had it, it jumped to him. I said, "Oh, okay, Mike, jump in."
Yeah,
and he, because I'd already prepped him about that beforehand. He goes, "Okay," and he jumped in, and it went smooth. So, yeah, it's just they just didn't understand that you didn't actually have to jump in.
Yeah,
which reminds me of BFA, the Tide Sage dungeon. You have that council fight with the two bosses.
With the shield, you talking about?
She drops a big circle on the ground, and he does a big stomp in front of him.
Okay.
And there's actually a rock.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah.
You get up on the rock on the side. All your casters, your healer, everybody can stand up there. And I did not realize that for the longest time, and it completely negated the entire difficulty of the fight, and just your melee and tank had to be down there. So
yeah,
that's what it felt like to me. I was like, wow, this is so much easier.
It's funny how Blizzard treats Mythic Plus. It's I've heard it said that it's the Wild West of WoW. It's just they're super bad about, or they're super on top of if people are exploiting a raid, they'll just ban everyone. But if people exploit in PvP, they get mad and they'll ban people. But if you exploit in M plus, they're it's not really hurting anyone. So just if we happen to fix it, just you can't do that anymore. But because Raider IO is not tracked by Blizzard, right? Obviously, and so it doesn't really impact anything Blizzard related, right? It's all external data that's getting manipulated, right? If people are doing cheese stuff to increase the key level that they can complete, it's Blizzard doesn't really care.
No, because once you're past 15 on everything, there's really in game. I don't think there's anything for you, is there?
No, there's not, and I don't even think they really tune like I don't know how high they actually tune. Maybe they stop tuning at 15 and then just kind of arbitrarily come up with a scaling number. And they're like, oh, let's see how far the players can get. I don't know if that's the case or if they actually do some tuning in between like 20 and 25s. I don't actually know that, but.
And I wish they would give M Plus so much more attention, because that's the kind of content I crave, is that smaller, you don't need 20 people. You don't need 25 people to do, and you do it with smaller groups. That's the stuff I like. There.
I think they should tune in between 15 and 20. Like, I honestly think there should be an achievement for all 20s, because that's a fairly difficult thing to do. Like, not many people are doing that, right? That seems like the equivalent of like a gladiator title to me. And it seems like if you get all 20s, you should be able to do 226 gear. Like, that's a fairly difficult achievement, right? And you're going to be fairly geared if you can do all 20s anyways, right?
Right, because I think most people don't even attempt after 15.
Probably not. No.
A good chunk of like my guild, once they got KSM, it was almost like their entire drive to do Mythic Plus died.
Yeah,
they didn't want to do it anymore.
Yeah, I definitely like the 15 achievement, and being able to use the Valor now. Although I don't think the Valor system is overly useful. I don't think you get enough, but
that was something I noticed tonight, because I haven't spent it at all until tonight.
What did you use it on?
So actually, on that Halls of Atonement, a haste mastery with a lot of haste on it.
Okay.
Dropped a neck, and it had a socket on it too.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's worth
it. And it dropped for the warrior.
Mm-hmm.
And I sent him a whisper. I said, "Hey man, do you need that?" And he said, "Oh no, here you go."
Oh yeah, you could have just said that in Discord. We would have all given him crap, and he would have given it to you.
No, he was talking. There's like a whole separate conversation going, so I wasn't trying to interrupt that. But I was kind of looking at it, looking at my neck, and I had a little bit of haste on mine. But one of my biggest problems right now is I'm trying to get more on my gear, and my vault gave me a lot of crit, which I don't want at all. And so I've been trying to kind of re-itemize myself, and I've got some pants I want to boost up. I did boost that neck up. And I was using a 213 neck for raid healing. And I use a 235 legendary when I do Mythic Plus.
Okay.
So I don't need that neck for Mythic Plus. But when I raid heal, I use a different legendary altogether. So the neck comes off, and I had to put that 213 like rat neck on.
Sure.
And so it was a good upgrade for me tonight, actually. I went ahead and boosted that up to 220. And then I had some pants I had the other night, which are haste mastery, which are better stats than, I think I have like some crit verse or crit mastery pants, something I don't want. That was 226, and I was like, I think it'd be better for me just to have the 220 haste mastery. So I started boosting that up, and I got to like 213, and I couldn't boost it anymore because I just boosted the neck up.
How much did it cost you for that piece?
It was like 425 an upgrade.
For which slot?
Are you talking about the neck or the pants?
Yeah, how much was it costing for each? I'm just curious.
Like I said, I think it's about 425, and there's 12 ranks.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. It kind of surprised me because I hadn't spit any at all this entire time of 9.05, and so I was only able to upgrade one piece.
Yeah, that's the thing that's really awkward right now. Like, what is there, like a 6,500 cap roughly this week?
Yeah.
And so if you want to do 10 ranks on which, I mean, obviously you and I are going to get pieces at 210 base, right? Because we're running 15s. But I mean, even to upgrade the 2 or 3 ranks that you need, per piece, I mean, that's essentially like a 1,200 Valor sync, right? Per piece, if you're getting at a base level 210. And so,
right.
You got to be really selective on what you upgrade. And I'm kind of hearing that like rings are probably the thing to upgrade just because you get so many stats out of them.
I can see that.
It's like rings and trinkets, and I did a weapon on my Demon Hunter, and I'm not sure if that's a mistake or not, but I did get a 210 weapon out of Plaguefall, which has like that extra proc on it, right? It does like 300 poison damage or something like that on hit. But I did upgrade that to 220 today.
And weapons are the most expensive upgrade, aren't they?
It was 500 each rank.
Okay.
So that's why I was curious what it cost you.
I haven't actually looked at the tables since probably they announced Valor, but I remember reading the tables and it was almost like there's several different categories. I mean, it's almost not the entire armor set was the same, which was kind of annoying to me.
Yeah.
Like the shoulders and wrists may be one thing, and your legs and chest may be another tier. And then I don't know. It's just, why can't we keep it simple? Why does it have to be all over the place? But
I think the Valor should exponentially grow too, based on the key level, right? The drops, that is. I don't think it makes a lot of sense unless you're trying to entice higher level players to help with lower keys, right? Maybe that was their goal, but I don't think 130, 135 per dungeon, no matter the key level, makes sense.
no, considering what bare minimum you're doing, like a 30-minute investment of your time to get 130. I was doing my callings. I usually would get, let 3 stack up and then go do them all in one go. But you're only getting, I would say, like 90, like 30 Valor a piece. So if you do all 3, that'd be 90.
Okay.
And that's not even efficient with your time either, because you're having to go do all these world quests or.
I haven't done a calling since like the end of the first month of the expansion. I literally haven't done a single calling, not one.
I stopped for a bit, but then Drexy started wanting me to do them, so we started doing those. I've hit Exalted on everybody except for the Maldraxxus people, whatever faction that is.
Is there any real benefit to doing that? Like maybe eventually they'll tie it to like an allied race or something, but
probably not, to be honest with you. It makes me feel good to open up my my tab and see it all, because what usually happens is I get close and then I end up just taking a break from the game, coming back later in the expansion, and there's new ones out. I never go back and finish the first ones.
Well,
so
I'm pretty sure they already said they're not gating, like flying behind anything, right? I mean, maybe they will, but
that. I've only heard that from you. So
okay, I thought I heard they're not gating flying behind like reputation this time. Maybe they'll gate it behind something else, but
I would assume it would be gated behind renown.
Yeah, if anything,
40 renown. That seems, I don't know, fair. Gate it there, so or maybe maybe the Covenant campaign, which doesn't take too long to do. But I can see it doing something like that versus an actual reputation.
Yeah, potentially something like that. I mean, we had already talked in a previous episode about, eventually they'll probably do some sort of like double legendary system, right? I mean, at least they did back in like Mist, right? And so that will probably be gated behind something like Renown, but who knows? Maybe they'll come out with a couple new systems in 9.2, or I guess flying is 9.1, so we should know fairly soon.
Yeah, and I believe all the covenants, everybody would kind of be progressing on the same thing now instead of your own covenant, right? I would go do mine and you go do yours, Kyrian, and I was over your Night Fae. I think we're all going to be progressing on like pretty much the same storyline from here on out.
Well, that could be for a variety of reasons, right? That could just be COVID related and time constraints, right?
Probably, yeah, the lazy way out.
Well, yeah, but I mean, it kind of makes sense, right? They'll probably make it all happen in the mall at this point, and so the people without the mounts are going to be super irritated, myself included.
Yeah, I can't bring myself to do that, especially when I'm playing on a druid. It's like, I'm going fast enough,
Supposedly, there's a quest line you can do now in the maw, and I guess it takes about 4 hours, but you can get them out that way, and that might be the play.
Well, if you want to do it sometime, just let me know. We just got to sit down and brew the coffee, grind out, and just go.
Yeah, maybe next Saturday. That's actually a good idea to do that. So it would be a good thing to have that. And really, I probably should get my rep on a couple different characters. I don't know if Stygia is going to be important, but I'm kind of hearing that maybe the sockets are just going to be a thing that you can always get going forward. I don't know if that's confirmed or not, or maybe they're limited to like item level 220 or something like that and below, or 226 rather, or 233. I guess it would have to be. Well, no, right. 233 would be.
Well, the only thing you get, that's the PvP weapons, right?
Well, there's 233 gear that drops off of Stone Legions and Sire. But I'm not sure if any of that is socketable. I think there's like shoulders and stuff like that, which I'm not even sure. I don't think you can put a socket in anyway. So,
what rings, wrist, and is it neck?
Sounds right. Yeah, sounds right.
But I've been stockpiling it. Well, actually, I'm not gonna lie to you. I did stockpile it, and then I stopped doing the mall pretty much altogether.
Oh, me too. Yeah, no, I don't do it anymore.
I've had a guilty wanting to do the weeklies, so I've been kind of getting a little bit here and there. But as far as like daily going in there and grinding, I gave up on the mall ages ago.
Have you been doing Torghast or?
Yeah, I've actually been doing Torghast. Pretty much that group you ran with on Mist.
Mm-hmm.
The four of us, or at least me and Drexy, bare minimum, will go in and do Torghast each week.
Okay.
Which is crazy the amount of damage a bear can do in there. I go in as Boomkin. She goes bear.
Yeah.
And, the full moon that can drop down.
Mm-hmm.
You can pick it up as Boomkin, and it's like your every 20th Moonfire. It'll drop down.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is with bear, but I see it constantly spamming, and she can out DPS me, which is crazy once you start getting some powers.
Mm-hmm.
So bear is definitely the way to go in there.
Yeah, I've been running around as bear. I've actually been playing my druid a lot this week, and in fact, I just finished the Covenant campaign tonight on it. So I'm all decked out now. I think I'm close to 190. So the bear might be in play next week a little bit. But yeah, I've been having fun running around and jumping into Moonkin with Heart of the Wild and then dropping some moons on people. That's been a fun way to do quests and etc.
Have you been able to work in the whole Heart of the Wild convoke with while tanking?
Yeah. Actually, it's not bad. Typically, I just pop like Iron Bark or something like that, and you're fairly tanky in Moonkin form, anyways. And I just, I know the damage patterns, right, of all the bosses in the dungeons, and so I just wait for in between like a tank buster, right? I don't obviously press it during a tank buster, but it does pretty good damage, especially if you do it like right off the bat. You'll be at the top for a couple seconds before the DPS actually get a chance to pop their cooldowns. You can burst pretty high, probably like 7k or so with my current gear. And,
okay, well,
yeah, it's pretty fun.
We're going to have more gear next week once you open up the vault. But I don't think you can beat this week's vault, can you?
No, for me specifically, no. My vault was crazy this week. So I did essentially like I had like one chance to get a reward on all my characters, and I have 6 characters now. And so on my Demon Hunter, I wanted the cheat death trinket, and from the raid, and I actually snuck into our guild's AOTC raid this week, and did a couple bosses and there on my Demon Hunter. Uh-huh. And I actually got the cheat death trinket to drop, so that's insane. I had one choice. I got the cheat death outside of Mythic Plus. I had one raid choice, and I got the cheat death trinket, which is insane. And then I got the Phial of Putrefaction, which is like my monk's best in slot trinket. I got that 226 to drop. One chance to get a piece of loot. That dropped. I got some haste to my priest, which I needed desperately. I got a dagger on my rogue, so one choice. And speaking of the rogue does insane damage now as Venthyr. My little 200 eye level rogue can literally pull 7k on a boss. It's insane how much Venthyr rogues do right now.
That's the new hotness right now, is the Venthyr rogue.
Dude, if you haven't tried it, I would highly recommend, if you're a rogue player, if you have a single target situation, Venthyr rogue does insane damage. So yeah, dagger on the rogue, really cool. And then obviously my paladin and druid were both like 170 eye level, so like anything from the vault was good for them. And so yeah, insane week in the vault. But how was your vault?
Mine was terrible.
Yeah.
Like literally garbage. I don't think I got any sort of upgrade on any character across the board. So you literally drained all my luck and took it and put it on.
Yeah, I took a dump on your week. I drained all your luck. I cursed your raid.
Killed my guild. Words have power, man. Okay,
that's what happens, man. You let me come in a raid lead for a week. You just don't want to raid after I'm gone, right? I mean,
yeah, it was tough. But I was just thinking about something. You're talking about the guys quitting after doing 15 keys on Mythic Plus. And so so a question that's been kind of kicking around in my head: do good Mythic Plus players just want to basically are they the best raiders?
Yeah, so we kind of texted about this early in the week because we were both kind of thinking about it. And like, so the question is, do Mythic Plus players correlate with good raiders, right? Are raiders generally really good Mythic Plus players, or is it because people play Mythic Plus that they are generally like more aware in raids, etc.? Do they make better raiders? And
Because it's like, do they play more? Is that what makes it better, or is it skill inherent? As far as actually climbing up the IO.
I mean, for our guild, I would say it's not 100% true. There's some people that just like go into raid and they like never do Mythic Plus, right? And they just absolutely pump. But I mean, I can't really speak for every single person's mechanics, right? But I generally notice the people that do the 15 keys with me, they're all really good players on top of that, right? And they're typically people I do depend on for like, communicating cooldowns and stuff like during the raids. And so, I'm able to like bounce ideas off of, right? Because they have like an understanding of like other people's kits, right? And I think running Mythic Plus definitely enables you to, one, have a really good understanding of like other people's cooldowns, right? So it pulls you out of your bubble because you're kind of like forced to learn other people's cooldowns. And two, it's like, communicating like the best time to use cooldowns, right?
Right. It gets you focused off, your immediate target around you, and you're kind of thinking more of the big picture of how things are going to play out. If I use my cooldowns here, what are we going to have, as a group down the road for the next thing? I was going to say, like, in my raid, it was a clear difference, which is as we were progressing through at least heroic, there was a huge difference in those that were pushing keys versus those that were just locking in on raid days, not really wanting to do the Mythic Plus at all. And you also have that added benefit of now you have the vault, and so they're going to out gear if they're not getting gear, in the raid.
That's fair. Yeah, that's fair.
And you're also getting higher item level gear. And so I believe that kind of tilts it more in the favor, at least before the gear has plateaued. Which right now everybody is probably 220, right, in your raid.
We probably average 220, I would say. I think my characters, which are probably on the higher, like mid-high end of our raiders, I think they're all roughly 222. So the average is probably just a little bit under 220, maybe 219, 218.
And you do have people who will level up new characters and swap in different roles and things. And yeah, that does kind of swap it. But like, you got to think about when everybody was first entering the raid on those weeks, not much gear was dropping in the raid.
Right.
It was kind of nerfed down, which they have since increased. And so definitely the people who were stacking their vault those first couple of weeks were getting ahead. So I believe that does tilt it more, but you get so much, all that stuff you just said, about communication and, pretty much getting your head to the bigger picture is so much more valuable, in my opinion.
I think Mythic Plus players probably make better raid leaders in general. Like if you run a lot of Mythic Plus, you probably have a better understanding of like other people's kits, right? So if you aren't necessarily paying attention to other people, right, and you don't do Mythic Plus, you may not know, like the cooldowns of someone else's abilities. You might not really understand, we're suffering with this mechanic. I guess, this person specifically probably has a better kit to take care of it, right? But two, like for us specifically, we were doing like Artificer last week, and we were having people hold DPS cooldowns essentially for like a minute, just to get a really good burn phase, right? And that's kind of what you do in Mythic Plus, right? You try to think about your cooldown usage throughout the macro dungeon, right? Not just as things come up, immediately press them, right? Like I guess there's times where that works out, but most of the time, you got to think a couple pulls ahead, right? And it's the same way in raiding, right? Especially from a raid laning perspective, you need to be able to organize people to save cooldowns or like very specific abilities, or you have to think a couple seconds ahead, right? Ahead in order to like pop a cooldown at the right time to burn a certain ad or movement speed ability. Like all that kind of decision making is very similar to how plotting a mythic dungeon not beforehand works.
It reminds me, a good example of that is like even on a single boss,
Hmm.
um, not even having to really game plan further ahead past the boss. Um, and Sanguine Depths, the one that spawns the ad in that tight hallway with the alternating orbs.
Yeah, the tornado.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you really want your DPS to kind of space out their cooldowns for the ad, and so that's one good example of communicating that out and planning that ahead.
Hmm.
And I'll tell you, tonight we went and we pulled Halkus, the first boss of Halls,
Hmm.
and I'm pretty sure I was the only guy that blew my cooldown um, on pull because I saw I took off on the meters and nobody else was like really moving. And
Okay.
I was like, was I supposed to save it for something? I immediately started to panic and started trying to like back up and kind of zoom out and try to look at the big picture. I'm like, what am I missing here? What is everybody else waiting on? Like, what am I thinking of? I
Hmm.
mean, what am I missing? And so, I mean, in the end, it was just that they were using it on the trash and not really worrying about the boss.
Yeah, we did a big pull right before that, and so they probably just blew their load there. But
Yeah, but see, I was confused for a minute, and so it was one of those, that's me learning as a DPS.
hmm.
But yeah, immediately it was like, oh man, I messed up, which is usually not what you think when you take off to the top of the meters.
Yeah,
So, but it was a funny little moment there.
I don't know. I think this expansion specifically, I've always felt like I've been fairly aware. I've read in the past, but granted, it's probably been 5 to 7 years since I've really like actually done some raid leading. I think we did. That wasn't the last expansion, was it? Where there was like the worm boss was the very first raid tier.
It was the zone right above the Zandalari. Oh my goodness, Gold, goo.
Gom or something like that. Yeah, that worm boss where you like shot the sunlight down at it. Right, you had like the two mazes on each side of the room where you had to
Yeah, because I was
toss
a
your
warlock
orbs.
and I had to go put my portal up on one side,
Yeah,
and you would do your little monk like flying
yeah,
kick across. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
yeah. But I remember the first week we had got there basically pugging. Right, I think we had gotten to the last boss pugging it, and we jumped to just some random group, and it was not going well. And I think we finally just got fed up. And I think I mentioned, I'm like, guys, I could just raid lead this. Like, I know what's going on here. Like, and so we left, and I guess that raid broke apart because we had several whispers of people that had actually found our group again, right? Because we relisted the group,
I
and
remember that. Yeah, yeah.
we ended up killing it in like 2 polls or something like that. Like once I took over and kind of started raid leading it, and so I've kind of always been good at like organizing people and stuff like that, but I haven't really like seriously raid led in a couple of years. And I know this expansion specifically, like I feel like I'm learning a lot more because I'm more involved with the Mythic Plus scene, kind of tracking cooldowns and all that jazz. So I think it's definitely applicable.
Oh, for sure. I've did a lot of Mythic Plus in BFA,
Hmm.
but it was more towards the end there, and things were just kind of crazy, and power creep was there, and so it really wasn't as much. This expansion, I've had to learn more, I think, and become more aware of what's going on around me
Hmm.
than I've ever had to do while doing this. I mean, Mythic Plus hasn't been around since Legion, but
Do you think people paid a lot of attention to like the high end Mythic Plus scene last year or last expansion rather? Was that something that you paid attention to? I guess I should ask it that way. Did you pay attention to people like Growl and Dorky Bear and maybe Ellesmere and like some of those groups? Was that something you guys actively
so
tracked?
when I picked up Resto Druid is when I started watching Growl
Okay.
because he played nothing but Resto Druid,
Hmm.
and I did it because I liked it, but it also turned out to be the flavor of the month healer.
Sure.
And so he was playing nothing but Resto Druid. So I was watching him in order to get better myself as a Resto Druid.
Hmm.
And I actually was learning stuff watching his videos. I'd never watched his stream though. I always watched his YouTube videos as he put them out, his Pug Adventures,
Yeah, I
or
like
his
those.
higher keys and things.
Hmm.
And watching him like walk around Dino Land, he was doing jumps on the Druid, little wild charge. He was doing jumps I didn't even know you could do.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I've kept up with him less this expansion. I think it's strictly because he doesn't play what I play.
He hasn't been playing that much actually.
Well, he's been playing priest, shaman, holy. Paladin. He's been playing it all.
Mhm.
I don't even know if I've noticed him play a Resto Druid yet, but I'll sometimes watch a couple of his videos. I saw one where a guy was basically talking trash on all the top healers, talking about how they're worthless.
Okay.
This guy basically made a video, and he was completely serious about this.
The look at the numbers video.
Yeah, we can look at the numbers. And he was talking about how much healing the tank was doing.
Yeah.
Right? He was arguing that good tanks don't do damage; they just all put it into heals and whatnot. And as soon as he started, the first video the guy was showing, you could see the cat with the
it's him.
toast on his standing is, oh no. And so I really haven't been paying attention too much. I've been watching more MDI this season, but as far as like watching actual keys, I have not myself.
Yeah, I've been watching a lot of like Genji and now while I work. They're on European time, right? So they're basically streaming when I wake up, and I don't know. I actually get a lot out of them. I really enjoy watching their videos, and I actually learned a lot more from them than I thought I would.
I've been getting the notifications every time now it goes live in the mornings, and I'm like, dang, man, because then I kind of want to watch because I'm at work at that time.
Yeah,
but I've been getting a lot of trickle down information from you. True. From watching their stream, because you'll come in like, hey, I saw this today, and we'll talk about it, and sometimes we try it, sometimes we don't.
I actually tried a version of his TOP route today. It didn't end up going as planned, but what you can do is right off the beginning, you can actually imprison, right, because you've got the 3 ads when you walk down the stairs, and then you have the Bloodhorn right behind that. It's like the guy on the charger, right?
Right.
And so you can actually imprison or mind soothe or sap. I think there's a couple different things you can do to the leftmost ad of the 3-pack right off the beginning. And if you imprison, which is what we did, and then you hug the left side, you can actually just walk right by that 3-pack. And we ended up doing that today. We imprisoned the leftmost ad, and then actually grabbed the blood charger, and I pulled it on top of the boss, and we lusted. And that's actually how we did that boss. And I think that's my new favorite way of doing that. And it seems like it's kind of memey, but at the same time, I think it's like the most efficient way to start off the dungeon, because you use so many cooldowns on that 3-pack plus the blood charger at the beginning. Like, you just roll through all your defensive cooldowns because they enrage. You go through healer cooldowns. You go through all your DPS cooldowns. It just takes a long time, right? And specifically, if you have like a fire mage, you just drag it on top of the 3-pack and you lust, and you just kill the blood charger first. And then it's necrotic week, so we killed the melee guy second. But yeah, I think that's like the best way to start off that dungeon now.
Where do you make up the numbers?
So what you do is you do that, and then once you hit the bottom, after you kill the first bosses, you pull 6 of the ghosts in that hallway where you typically line of sight the ghost right towards the banner.
Okay.
If you're going towards like the platform wing, so you pull you pull 6 of those, and that's the ad count that you're missing from the original 3 guys. And then essentially you do everything like kind of like normal. So then you turn around, and then you go down and do like the banner boss first. And the pride will line up exactly the same way if you do that. So you pull the Bloodhorn and then the 6 ghosts, and that's the same count. And then you do the banner boss in that wing, and you get your 2 prides like you normally would. And then you do the plague wing next, and the pride will actually spawn on the pack. You know how there's a guy that pats around in the circle, and you typically run by him and skip him?
Right.
So it's the pack right after that. And what's really cool about that is the percentage. Like, the pride will spawn at the very last percentage. And so you can either skip that pride, or else you can kill the pride, and then you can invis pot past everything else, which is low count, all the way to the boss. And that's kind of what I would recommend doing. And that's actually what I had planned to do, but we screwed up the invis pot, and so we ended up having to overpull there. But that's typically the route, right? So you do the 6 ghosts, and then you jump into the plague wing, or I'm sorry, you do the banner boss, then you go in the plague wing. You get your 80%, or I'm sorry, your 60% pride to spawn there, which you can either skip or do, and then you do gore chop, and then you go up and finish off the platform wing. But if you do manage to skip and get your 60% pride, and then do the boss immediately, you actually go right twice instead of going right left. And that will put you at like 97%. right before the second to last boss, and then at that point you can either clear the 3 that you skipped at the very top before you do the boss if you want the pride, or else you can do them after the boss and get the pride, or just skip the pride rather. So that route's really cool because it actually allows you to skip essentially almost every single pride, which is super valuable in high keys, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, there's my 5-minute monologue on how to run that key, but
no, I would like to try some of those
yeah,
things.
it's kind of a cool route, especially the pull at the beginning is fun to do, right?
And see, that's some of the stuff, especially with this 4 to 5 week coming up. That's some of the stuff I kind of want to try.
Mm-hmm.
Is some of the more out there things where you got to have a group who just doesn't care. You know, if things get completely scuffed up, you know, it's like, hey, this is the whole point we're here is to try wacky strategies, you know?
Yeah.
And I wouldn't mind doing that next week.
Well, the only thing is sanguine on top of bosses is generally no bueno, but
well, not particularly that same exact strategy, dragging things in, but just doing some more wacky things that we don't normally try. Usually we get in there and it's just, what do we know is efficient and guaranteed, you know?
I think pulling prides on top of bosses is generally not a big deal. Or even just pulling bosses on top of other mobs. Like, for example, earlier in the podcast, I was talking about Necrotic Wake. It's really not a big deal. It takes a little bit of getting used to, you know, and your people have to be ready to like kick certain targets, right? But generally, it's not too bad as long as you know how to manage your tank cooldowns and healer cooldowns and DPS cooldowns, I guess.
It seemed pretty easy tonight when we did our 15 with a 190 something healer.
Yeah,
no legendary.
15 with a 190. Yeah, I think he was like 197. Yeah, with no legendary, and he's a really good player, and he's a good shaman too. But the what was I gonna say? The second to last boss in Halls of Atonement. Typically, I grab the 3-pack or the 4-pack of casters, and I just pull them on top of the boss. And we had kind of talked about that tonight, like if we should have done it or not. And I think even this week, it was totally worth doing that. I think we should have done it. Oh yeah, I think that would have been super simple.
They got melted. The other druid, I think, convoked, and something about that boss right there. Funny tidbit is we went in there, and I actually topped the meters on that one.
Okay.
Because the druid did not have his convoke.
Oh.
And he was like right on me, like he almost passed me without convoke, and I was like, "Holy crap!"
Yeah, no, he's insane.
I was like, there should be no reason that he is like right on my tail right now. But
well, I kind of wonder if that pull carried forward because, come to think of it, we had a gargoyle active that he had captured, our warrior had captured because he's Venthyr. And then we pulled the second gargoyle. I kind of wonder if those two pulls got connected.
Just kind of extended the meters out.
Maybe. But I mean, you're still ahead, so you're saying you're ahead, so maybe not.
Yeah, I don't know, but it was kind of funny because I actually felt like I was playing better than I normally do.
Yeah.
Because we got onto like the first boss, and I completely lined up. I don't know if this is like the smart thing to do, but I was popping Starfall right before he does the little beams that come out, so you can just keep casting while moving.
That makes sense.
I was doing like little things like that. Like I was just trying to think, you know, because I never really read any guides or anything about Boomkin or really researched it. It always just seemed like a very intuitive rotation. You know, you keep your dots up and then you bounce it back and forth between the moon and the sun. So. But I felt like I was doing pretty good tonight, and yeah, I blew convoke on that boss, and may have been something weird with the meters, but the dude was like right there on me when it was all said and done.
No,
I was like,
he's insane.
He had no cooldowns. Like you shouldn't be catching me like that. You know, take a knee, make me look a little bit better. Go get a glass of water or something. But yeah, it was fun though.
Is there anything next week you're looking forward to?
Probably just pushing some keys, kind of seeing how the whole guild thing plays out. I don't know. We have to. I think I'm bringing 4 people over to your guild, including myself. Maybe 5.
We're having a guild meeting tomorrow to kind of, you know, talk through some of that stuff. But I think the plan right now is to trial quite a few people, so I wouldn't be surprised if you got some mythic time tomorrow. I might even be 21st manning some of it just to allow more people to get in. So I might be looking over someone's shoulder. We'll see kind of what we need, right? It's one of those things, right? We want to trial people, but at the same time, we also want to get back to council, right? We don't want to spend an entire week mashing our face against bosses just to,
and
see how people do.
That's one of the tough things, I guess, coming in is I don't have any experience past hunger, so
you'll pick it up. It's super intuitive. Like, kind of my philosophy behind raiding is it's like 70% is just knowing the strategy and getting other people to understand the strategy, and then it's probably like 20% execution, and then 10% is something else. But it's most of it is just understanding the strategy itself. Yeah, magic dust, RNG, luck, having clean polls, getting good Lydia Nerva, getting good immunities on ads. Like, yeah, there's some luck involved too, but getting enough full moons to drop or whatever. But
yeah, from what I've seen out of the first 3, nothing has seemed hard. It all just seems like it's come down to execution and pulling it off. And I know that sounds really kind of backwards, but I haven't seen a boss where like I actually sat down. I'm like, there's just no way I can kill this.
We're gonna pull if you do end up coming tomorrow. We're gonna pull hunger once, and you're gonna be like, oh, this is stupid. This strategy is so easy. and honestly, I feel like that's kind of how I think the first 6 bosses that we killed, all of them are fairly easy. Like I'm not overly. I think I could literally bring anyone into any of those 6 bosses, and within a pull or 2, they just like completely understand what's going on. Like it's not that complicated, right?
Did you ever explain to Growlithe your hunger strategy?
No, I didn't. I don't like. I don't know. I feel like that's unnecessary, right? To like type to someone else like, hey, your strategy sucks. And honestly, everything he's introduced has been a fine strategy. Like that's honestly how most people do it, right? The strategy you guys were doing for hunger. It's just my personal preference. I think our strategy is a little bit easier, but
I know we had killed 2 bosses pretty quick that one night that you came with us, and I just wasn't sure if like that night y'all had like discussed it or anything like that.
Nah.
So I know that your strategy is a little bit different than I guess the default one.
Yep.
From what you told me,
it's quite a bit different, and I think all of our strategies are a little bit different. I think Artificer, there's not really room for creativity. I think that one's fairly straightforward. Dark Vein, we just don't touch any of the containers, which makes it very straightforward. Sun King, I mean, the fight is going to change depending on your healer comp. So every single person or every single raid team does that a little bit differently. Some people have to wait for the infusers. Some people don't. Some people actually hold off healing because they have too much healing during phase 2 so they can get a couple cooldowns back up. Like, people do it different ways. So, I mean, we have some, a couple of tweaks in our strategies, but overall, I'd say the first 6 bosses are fairly telegraphed. And once you see the fight a couple times from your perspective, it's very simple.
Gotcha.
Looking forward to this week. Looking for good vaults. I think I've got at least 1 reward on every character, and I think I've got some fairly high rewards on both my, on my rogue, my pally, and my druid. I think I did at least like a 10 on each of those, so should get the alts going as well.
Yeah, I actually got pieces across all my tunes, and I think for the first time in a while, I actually have multiple choices instead of playing the Russian roulette game.
Oh no, you'll get like 2 rings or something.
Yeah, something completely stupid that I don't need. Like crit on the druid or
yeah, for sure.
Something useless, but hopefully we get some good keys done too, because this week sucked and we still did a bunch. Anything else you want to throw in?
Nope. I think we're straight chilling for the rest of the night. I think I'm going to try to get 1 more key in actually on my Demon Hunter, because I'm at 3 of 4. I've technically 4 of 4, but my lowest one's a 6 that I helped someone do. So that is mucho no bueno.
Yeah, be sure to check out the YouTube channel, which on there you'll find the Discord link. You can come in and talk to us and tell us how much you hate or love us. So,
and we have actually had quite a few people do that, which is very cool.
Yeah, I've had some people contact me, like actual complete strangers coming in and talking to me, messaging me. Actually had some people talking about my guild, wanting to join that, which is now defunct. But it's been kind of fun having complete strangers come up and talk to you about something you mess around with. So we enjoy it. So definitely come talk to us.
Yeah, I had a bunch of guild people today harassing me because we didn't put out the podcast last night. Which
I got some messages as well.
Which I actually appreciate, because it's cool. I actually only advertised the podcast once several weeks ago. And it's like, by the way, I'm talking crap about all you here, just so you know. And pretty reliably, I've had people give pretty positive feedback. So thank you for that.
Yeah, it definitely makes it worth it when people come and talk to us about it. So we enjoy it.
Anyways, have a great rest of the week if you're on the North American server. Good luck with your vault tomorrow.
And have a good one.
Have a great week.